All right. Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Learning Tech Talks, where we're exploring the landscape of learning tech while cutting through the fluff and answering the questions you need answered to make the right decisions when building your digital learning ecosystem. Today, I'm joined by Aaron Alpert and Paul Meyers from SimpleShow, and we're going to be talking about taking complex concepts and simplifying them into compelling and easy to follow animated stories. So for those of you joining us live, give us a thumbs up, share the post, tag in somebody who'd benefit from the conversation. And as we're getting started here, I am joining from the lovely Waukesha, Wisconsin. Again, very balmy in the 50s today. And my guests here are from Miami, correct?
Correct. Here in Miami, 80 degrees and beautiful.
All right. Well, for those of you joining, let us know where you're joining from. It's we've got a little bit of a temperature difference, but I think for me, because I've been here, I consider it warm, so I'm very comfortable with it. And so before we get into it, right, before we get into the conversation about animated video, taking these complex concepts down, let's do our question of the week. And I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. And those of you who are watching, please put your answers in the comments. But what is something that you thought would be extremely difficult before you did it, right? You thought it was going to be extremely tough. And then you did it and you realized, hey, that actually wasn't so bad. And you would say, you know what, I could do that again. So who wants to start?
Not
all.
Aaron, feel free.
All right, Aaron, let's hear it.
Sure. So for me, when I first started working for SimpleShow and I had to explain complex topics and simplify them down to the core essentials, one of the parts that I was always worried about was the storytelling aspect. I think storytelling is a little bit it's a little bit scary. It's I can't figure out a story that's relevant to this topic, but I think that it's actually much simpler after doing thousands of videos by now. I realized that storytelling is actually pretty simple. You just want to write in the third person point of view and break things down by introducing a character and then how this solution could really simplify the issue for the main character, and then wrap it up with a conclusion. It's really just three parts, and it's something that I used to be very intimidated by. Exactly. Yeah.
What I don't know if you know the stat, but don't they say like every story, like all stories, or maybe it's all movies, are based on, it's just like a handful of premises, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, if somebody remembers, but if you know it, let me know. Cool. Well, all right. So now you're a master storyteller, and it wasn't so bad.
It's not so bad, and I think people worry about that, especially in this industry.
Okay. How about you, Paul?
So it was learning Spanish. Little boy from La Crosse, Wisconsin, Norwegian parents and grandparents. And now I speak Spanish fluently. Lived in Spain for 8 years, and at the beginning it was a little tough, but now it's
figured it out.
Figured it out.
Okay. Well, I won't say, so I took Spanish in high school for a number of years, and I did construction and used it a lot. I won't say it was easy for me. I did not have your journey of, hey, you know what, that wasn't so bad. But yeah, cool. Well, so mine was this. So early in my career, I was always told that at some point you hit a certain level in your career where you have to choose between, family and kind of your personal life and your professional life. I don't know where that had started. I don't remember exactly who had started that, but I remember thinking that was going to be so difficult because I knew what I wanted to do with my career, and I was always kind of challenged with this. So how will I strike that balance? And you know what? I've actually not found it to be that hard as I've done it, right? 5 kids, a lovely wife. And honestly, I'm like, well, it's not actually that bad to balance the two. It's just about figuring it out. So that's the one that I thought I wouldn't be able to crack. I thought that was going to be a challenge for me the rest of my life, but ended up not being so bad.
Great.
All right. So let's get into this. And to get things started, Paul, we've talked about this very briefly. The history of SimpleShow to me is fascinating, how it got its start. So I'd love to hear it again. And I'm sure for other folks, how did SimpleShow, where did it come from? What was the concept behind it?
Right. Well, SimpleShow on our full service side started 12 years ago in Stuttgart, Germany, kind of came out of the depths of the recession. And people just needed a simple way to communicate, right? I could tell the story about our founders' best band in Germany on MTV. It's kind of an interesting one. But I'm going to jump forward, that would be 9 years, so 3 years ago, and really explain my SimpleShow, which is the do-it-yourself software, which is very interesting. So we're SimpleShow, we simplify things. So we wanted to create a tool that anyone, anywhere, from an 8-year-old to a subject matter expert at whatever company could develop their own video within seconds, right? So we started out like everybody else did. We're like, okay, we want people to first write your script, do your storyboard, and then produce the video. We got a focus group, put everybody in a room, and we're like, okay, go at it. 4 hours later, nothing. Like one guy came away with something we were kind of like, oh, great, you get an extra bag of Fritos or whatever we were giving them, right? Like, oh, you did a pretty good job. But everybody else, it was really a disaster. We're like, wow, we've been doing this for 12 years. We thought it was easy. So we let everyone go home. We got together. And then somebody came up with a brilliant idea of why don't we bring back the focus group, put them on G Drive so we can all watch them, give them some basic tips on how to tell a story, right? Okay. And then watch them write their story. And then we have our explanation experts on the back end, and they put the storyboard together for them, which they didn't know. So they're done writing their script. Boom, they have a storyboard. And we're like, how do you like it? And everyone's like, great, awesome videos. Everyone gets an A, and it was awesome. Then came the hard part. We went to the tech team and like, okay, now we have to have an artificial intelligence or something develop the storyboard and develop the sound design and the voiceover and everything. And they're like, impossible, no way. But 3 years later, we did it. Winning awards from Google to Coke. They're using the tool, and it's you can literally create a video within seconds.
Okay. Well, so that was one of the things, right? So I've had a chance to play around with the tool that was unique about it, right? It's definitely one of several things that I really thought was helpful, was that ability to help people through that process. So, Aaron, on this one, for you, cracking the storyboard, going to telling compelling stories was easy. What did you see with those focus groups? Like, where are some of the hurdles that people have when it comes to simplifying the complex or telling a story in a powerful way?
So we actually have like our 5 simple rules that we use as a foundation to really that we built this tool on, and that we've on the full service side have been following these 5 simple rules to explain complex topics. So I think one of the things is, changing the perspective. People struggle with changing their perspective and trying to see things from somebody else's shoes. Okay. And that was really, that's the first rule too. I mean, it's the first rule to becoming an expert explainer is, changing your perspective. And I think that's where people get hung up the most.
Okay. Got it. So how do you, because you have to run into a couple things, and I'm curious how you tackle this. So the first one is, having been in this space for a while, there's always the mentality I think we run into sometimes where people go, well, this is just too complicated. This is just too complicated of a topic. It can't be simplified. How do you tackle that? And have you run into situations where you said, you know what, you're right. You're right. This is way too complex. This has no business being simplified. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, that happens all the. I mean, people come to us with that problem all the time. Okay. There is no topic that's too complex.
You haven't found one. You haven't found one that yet you've gone, nope, just too much.
You just have to think outside the box sometimes. Maybe break things into smaller bits of information, short videos. I think everyone wants to cram all the information into one video, but the longer the video is, the more disengaging it can be. So maybe you want to just break things down. If you're talking about 5 steps of how to become an expert explainer, maybe you want to do a short video on each step, and then one video that just kind of is like an introductory video, and then one that kind of wraps it up. So maybe break things up so that people could take them piece by piece and by bite-sized information.
Okay. And in the L&D world, it's gotten all sort of new terms, but I mean, it goes back to the original chunking, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about, is saying maybe this is a really complicated concept or topic, but if we break it into digestible chunks, we can then simplify it in that sense. So it's not necessarily cramming everything into a 6-hour SimpleShow video as it is maybe breaking that into pieces.
Exactly. That's why in the tool, we limit the duration of the video to 4 minutes. Because we want to guide people in that direction. And I think even then, users try to cram in extra information and they keep going back and forth. But, sometimes it's best to just take a step back, make sure you're not repeating any information, and then breaking things down, maybe split it up into 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 short videos. Because I think the general viewer would really enjoy that experience much more.
Okay. So that was actually going to be one of my next questions, was inevitably sometimes when you're dealing with subject matter experts, right, they just want to put so much information in. And that's where I was curious if you've come to hey, here's a best practice for length. So you capped it at 4 minutes. How did you land on 4 minutes, or what was kind of the thinking behind that?
Well, Paul, you want me to take this one?
You got it. You're the
creative guy.
I know the answer, but you're the guy who came up with it. So yeah.
So I mean, actually, we usually recommend 3 minutes. Minutes is the best, but I mean, there is always a little tug and pull. So we settled on 4 minutes, but we've done tons of studies and focus groups, and we found that the human brain really. That's the span that they have the most attention.
Okay. So ideally you're shooting for 3 minutes, even though the tool will let you do 4. The goal is to keep it around 3 for attention purposes. And I think that's probably a lesson we can all take away, regardless of what kind of content, especially video content that we're looking at.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we like to say here we keep things as simple as possible, but as complex as necessary. And we're constantly beating that into the subject matter experts ourselves, double checking the work, because you're not going to get the learning effect you want if you get too complex. You'll just lose everyone.
Okay, got it. So then the other piece, you talked about how this started as a full service piece, and I want to hit a little bit on kind of that journey you've been on without going too far into it, because I think this is one of the things that I've seen over my career, is that sometimes there is that need to do a full service, thing where maybe there really is some nuance. And then other times it's like, hey, we can do this in-house. How do you help clients, or how do you look at it to say, when does it make sense to go, you know what, we really need to do something completely separate, completely custom, versus, hey, you know what, this is something that you could use in a tool and you could do this quickly and rapidly. How do you help people make that decision?
Yeah, I think either of us could answer this, but I'll take a stab, Aaron. Really, we ask them, what their needs are, right? The easy one is, you need it tomorrow, and which we can do on the full service tomorrow. But why spend all that money if it's tomorrow? You're the subject matter expert. The only thing getting in the way is creating the video, which anyone can do with My SimpleShow. So they could have done it in a PowerPoint.
Okay.
They could have done it in an email. They could have done it face to face. But now they have a tool that allows them to do it in a video, so they can just decide themselves there.
Okay.
If it's evergreen, if it's a big audience, if you got the money in the bank, come and get the full service. And we can do it for them. Maybe they need 3D animation to, describe the mechanism of action of a drug within the body. You need the experts. But it's really that specific person, whatever their needs are. And it's really good to be able to flow in between any of those and just pick whatever is correct for that moment.
Okay. Well, and that was one of the things we had talked about when we were getting ready for this, is the fact that, having been in this space, it's nice that you have the capability to do both, right? Because you may need that full service, you may not. And going back to that evergreen piece, I think that's an important one. And right now, the current circumstance is currently an example of things where you have to think about what is the shelf life of some of this stuff, because you do run the risk of, right now, I think more than ever, there is this huge need for content in different things. Things keep popping up, but the longevity of the need of that content may not be there. And so how do you balance, making sure that you're not investing a ton of time and resources into something that's just not gonna be sustainable.
Yeah.
So you also, on this topic, I know one of the things I wanted to share with people, you've put a fair amount of work into some of the resources to help people with the content needs right now. Can you tell me a little bit about how you as an organization have helped prioritize that for the current situation?
So, Aaron, or
yeah, also are the videos.
The videos you guys have put together for the COVID situation right now.
Yeah, so we realize that there is so much information out there, and people are tuned into the news all the time, and there's just a lot of content going left and right. So we wanted to use our expertise to really simplify things, focus on some pressing questions that people might have. We're not a news outlet. We're not trying to release any news, but the facts that are coming out, through CDC and WHO, and then pressing needs that clients are having within their organizations of how to manage remote workers. Like what is social distancing? It's just a range, and these are just typical questions that people have. So rather than, going from one site to the next and watching the news and trying to figure out what's going on, we just decided that we could simplify some of that information just to get it across in the best way possible.
Okay. Well, and I think that's an important thing for people who are watching to note. I know I've been doing a lot of trying to help people think about the fact there are a lot of resources out there right now. And I think it's great the companies who are leaning in and producing some of this stuff for people to use so that we can focus our internal corporate resources on, our employees at a more high touch level. So I think, it's also a great opportunity to see how SimpleShow, right, what that content can look like. So we'll share that with folks so that you can take a look at that and go through that. But the other thing that I want to kind of take a pivot and go back to get into this a little bit is in the L&D space, there can sometimes be a little bit of an argument about, how comfortable are we with subject matter experts creating content? And I've seen this go really well, and I've seen it go really poorly. And I think somewhere it's in the middle, because at the end of the day, we do need our subject matter experts. From the volume of scale and just their expertise, we definitely need them. But at the same time, sometimes it can be perceived, some of these new tools, as a threat to our role in L&D. So how do you balance that? Do you just hand over the keys to subject matter experts and say, go nuts? What is L&D's role in some of these, automated tools?
Yeah, I mean, really, it's, subject matter experts have been utilizing PowerPoints and so many other forms of communication. So, that's not going to stop, and that shouldn't stop. I really think it's within the organization. Obviously, if you start getting some smoke signals that an SME is just delivering a 150-page PowerPoint every time,
yeah,
it might even be time on the full service side to bring us in. I'm always amazed. I always think it's because of our simplification. We make awesome videos, but a lot of our clients say, no, we just love your project managers be able to manage subject matter expert. We really have the luxury of being outside of the organization and be bold enough to be able to ask certain questions, kind of have that little tension moment of going back and forth. Do we really need to include those 50 points? And we always kind of come out on the winning end there. The client always makes the final decision, but we do so. But we do, usually win because they understand in a video that we are able to communicate in a shorter amount of time. An interesting little tidbit too, just utilizing video. So in a well-produced 1-minute video, you can deliver 1.8 million words of text. So, we've taken things for Novartis, which we just did. They ended up doing it in a video first. It was a 60-minute video. We reduced it to 8 minutes. On top of that, what we also did is chunked it like you were using in an interactive module. So it's like, look at like you come to a website. Now we've done about 1.5 minute little videos. It was on clinical trials and how to conduct them correctly. And so somebody could then, the learner could go directly to that point and go, hey, I just need to know about clinical learning on the third point. But yeah, it's a tightrope with the subject matter experts, and it's something I think all organizations deal with.
So with that one, let's use that as a case study, right? And we don't necessarily have to dig into the super guts of that one, but I think going back to the point of L&D sometimes is looking at, so what is my role? Where do I play in that? In projects like that, I actually really see learning and development moving more towards a consultative capability, even internally. And so I'm curious, when you see projects like that, how is L&D involved? How do they partner with you and then the subject matter experts, and what role do they play in that? So you obviously got to the end game. How did L&D partner with that? Curious.
I think this one. So you're saying L&D from the organization side,
right? Like, I'm just curious. Typically, what do you see? Do you see businesses reach out or partner with you, and they say, "Hey, this is just a business function doing this"? Is L&D playing a role in that? And if they do, what role is that?
So yeah, what we always say on our briefing calls, once it gets, a project comes over to the full service side, is this is a collaborative effort, right? We're learning this for the first time, so we're uniquely positioned to explain it as simply as possible because we have to learn it, right? We're not subject matter experts, and the L&D professional is there to kind of facilitate that collaboration on their end, and we have a project manager on our end too, who so we have a very fluid communication going on. But there are points where, we have to, ask the subject matter expert to further simplify something or to help us learn, how we could explain it in the best way possible, right? So they're kind of the facilitators of, of our collaboration together. And I think that's a really important role, right?
Playing almost the glue in between it.
Yeah, instead of, just allowing the subject matter experts to put all that information in there, right? So the learning L&D expert on the other end is, they need to understand that, we're talking to a large audience and they might not understand all this terminology or understand molecular biology or something like that. Salespeople typically don't. And if you're for example, if you're explaining something very complex to a sales audience, it's important for them to, maybe step in once in a while and just, and just put things into perspective a little bit.
Okay. Got it. So I'm curious, we're talking about, right, there's SimpleShow, the full service, and then there's SimpleShow. And one of the things, Paul, you talked about earlier was with SimpleShow, the automation behind the tool, and, how this was taking it from, okay, you're manually doing all this stuff to the machines are doing a lot of this stuff. You said at the beginning the development team was like, no, it's not going to happen. Tell me a little bit more about that journey and how you managed to take it from there's no way to, hey, you know what, it is working, and how does that work?
Right. So, we were deciding, do we bring the tech guy that developed this, or we bring us? And, we didn't bring him. He could.
Don't worry, we don't have to go into the AI algorithms. I promise I won't ask about those.
Exactly. Machine learning. I was brushing up on that before. But right, what we utilize is our artificial intelligence. Okay. So the most important thing that you need to do to communicate to somebody is what the machine needed to learn, or the artificial intelligence needed to learn, was how does a human speak? And it needed to be able to pick out the most important keywords of each sentence.
Okay.
So once we could do that, that was the biggest hurdle that we needed to overcome. So right now, somebody's typing, and literally in seconds, the artificial intelligence selects the keyword, then it places an image against the keyword. So it's one of the most fundamental things that your audience needs to learn is now in an image.
Okay.
An image, a picture's worth 1,000 words. The human brain processes an image 60,000 times faster than text. So that's the fundamental core that we needed to overcome.
Okay.
And then it was kind of off to the races. We did have to utilize a couple other things. Oh, this was interesting because this didn't come in until the very end. We needed to link it to Wikipedia data because a computer doesn't know, for example, the difference between Santa Barbara, California, and maybe, the Saint Barbara. So, at first it was pulling up a cross. And once we got over that hurdle of linking it to Wikipedia data, which is just awesome, it improved it about 25%. And it's just, kind of history.
Interesting. Okay. So it's, and without getting too technical, so you actually were training your algorithms to look at the text, identify, hey, what out of all this stuff, what are the most important words? And then let's use a visual to help really reinforce that, which I can tell you, and Aaron, I'd like your take on this. From a designer standpoint, that's actually a lot more work than I think people sometimes realize. Coming up with a creative element that displays, hey, this is what I'm talking about. Here's a visual that does that. It's not as easy as that. Would probably be one of the things that if we were to reverse the question from this morning, it would be, what was something you thought would be really easy that ended up being more difficult than you thought? To me, that's one of them.
Yeah, definitely. And we've been writing our scripts like this since the beginning, before the tool was created. So we've been locating those keywords and then having those keywords illustrated. So with SimpleShow, it's simple images brought into the screen by hand models, and that's cued by the voiceover and the keyword. So it's the keyword links to simple images, but we've been collecting all that data. We have a database of 20 to 30,000 illustrations that we've created for all of our videos, and they're all linked to keywords. So all that data of the experts finding these keywords and illustrating them, that's all linked to my SimpleShow as well. So it's also tapping into all the work that we've done in the past.
Okay. So one of the questions is that came, because before I get to this other question, that's an important piece, right? Because I think sometimes I've seen tools in the past where that data and the stuff isn't there, and so it feels very clunky, right? You go through it and you're like, well, wow, that wasn't really even remotely close to what I was trying to get at. And so I think your experience and data behind that probably makes a big difference. But one of the questions Renee asked, and I'm going to try and take my best stab at what I think she's asking about it, is being able to link to other resources. I think one of the challenges sometimes with these tools that take care of things is there's still that human component where you look at it and go, that's not quite right. That's not exactly how I would have framed that up. How does it work, when that happens, where maybe the machine didn't pick the right visual, or you go, I want to tweak it, or there's too many?
Yeah, that's super simple. You just click once on the image and it will give you a multitude of other images that are similar. Or if the artificial intelligence still isn't getting it, there's I guess you could say a little Google search bar that you put in, and then you can pull up, some of the other 20,000 images.
Okay.
And that's another great thing. So the artificial intelligence, we have over 450,000. It's going up about 1,000 a day, right? 450,000 users. So if the artificial intelligence gets it wrong, the human corrects it, and then the artificial intelligence learns from that.
Okay, so you actually have machine learning from when it does things. How close were we, so that it can then get better at it over time?
Yeah, exactly. And it's exponentially. The more people that sign up, it's just like 3 people in our back office correcting that for us right now.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I was curious if you had machine learning tapped into it. I mean, artificial intelligence is a big, broad spectrum, but it sounds like you're dealing both with NLP and machine learning in what you're doing with it. Which your technical guy's not here, so don't worry. I won't on that.
Yeah.
So we've been talking about it quite a bit. Paul, I know we talked about actually showing it. And I think I'll have some follow-up questions as we go through it. Do you have it queued up? Is it something we can take a look at?
Let's, oh wait, no.
Nope, that was your camera.
This is, I use Zoom, so we'll see how this works, everyone.
All right.
Pressure. You guys see my screen?
Yep, we're going Inception there.
All right. So you guys see, all right. So here's my SimpleShow. So let's just kick off and start creating a video. You know, Christopher, you could stop me as we go along here, but I think it might be fun just to do one super quickly.
Yeah, let's do one super quick, and then we can go back potentially and talk through it.
Okay, so you can just upload a PowerPoint and it will spit out a video on the other end, or you could write your own script. Why don't we do that one, because it's a little bit more interactive here. So we can do Christopher today. I guess I could have written that in Spanish for you, right?
It would have given me a chance to bring it back. So,
so we got a whole bunch of different templates here. You could do, you know, whatever. Let's do introduce your company. Here are all the tips and tricks on, you know, how to write something. But we're just going to take what we have written over here so that we can do it quickly.
And as you can see, there are a couple of examples, so it's very helpful. We have all these different templates, right, for different situations, and then different examples for that situation. So there's a lot of guidance built within the tool.
Okay, so here's the hard part, right? This is where the artificial intelligence is working, and it's developing the storyboard, which was the biggest stumbling block when we had our human beings try to do this, right? This is time intensive, you know, even an instructional designer that creates videos for life, they see this and like, oh my God, you do the storyboard for us. So this is awesome. So they're buying it left and right. But now we can just play the video here and we'll see how it looks. I think maybe I should do this. We'll play the video and see how it looks, and then we can modify it if we want.
Perfect. And then I think we'll be able to kind of talk through as we go.
Okay.
Cast off. Boat sharing with anchors away. We from Anchors Away have a great vision. Sailing for everyone, even for those without a boat. Easy, environmentally, and socially friendly, like car sharing. With an easy-to-handle, self-designed yacht, we began realizing this vision in 2006. This is when we founded Anchors Away at Lake Snowbirds in Canada and started our idea of boat sharing. Now 10 years later, Anchors Away shares 26 yachts in 24 locations on Canadian lakes. More than 20 employees work in sharing, training, and event divisions. Whether as individual customers or at large sailing events, more than 1,200 members already trust Anchors Away, and more join them every year. We will be happy to welcome you.
Cool. So let's break this down, because there's a couple questions coming in, and then I'd like to kind of talk through just this process stuff, because one of the inevitable questions that came up, and it was one we hit on a little bit earlier from Steven, was, you know, does this replace the role of the instructional designer? And you know, you answer first, and then I'll give my personal perspective on that.
Yeah, Aaron, I don't know if you want to go or I go on that one, but
Paul, you could go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, you know, absolutely not. One thing, the instructional designer can utilize this tool. As a matter of fact, it was the lowest hanging fruit, and that's who bought this first, even though it was designed for the everyday person, right? You know, you still need somebody to write the script. You still need to build that correctly, have the knowledge. Just a resounding no, right?
Well, I think. Go ahead, Paul or Aaron.
I wanted to just fill in and just tie back what I was saying earlier about, you know, the the instructional designer, is very important in, facilitating the information and making sure that it gets across to the audience in the right way. I think subject matter experts might want to put everything in there, and an instructional designer, I think would really help build this, in the best way possible for the audience.
And as I look at it, because I've led teams before where we've started treading in some of these tools that it can feel a little threatening, like, whoa, this thing just in 30 seconds pumped out something automatically by a machine that would have normally been something I would have been involved with. And, as I've looked at it and have worked with my teams on it, is that it's not replacing you. It might be changing your role a little bit. You may be moving to a more consultative role so that you can spend more time on the higher order things that you really have an expertise in. Your expertise isn't necessarily your ability to physically plop visuals into a thing. Your expertise is in coaching and crafting, the way that structure happens. And so to me, this opens up opportunity for instructional designers and learning professionals to spend more time on that higher order stuff, because they don't have to get caught in the weeds and the tactical stuff of this. And I think that's the part that can feel a little bit uncomfortable at first. But to me personally, through my own personal experience, the more you can automate some of this tactical stuff, one, the more time you have to spend on that. And two, the more you can do. I mean, I just think about the ability to, I'm excited about automation for what we do, because of the fact that, hey, you know what? We used to be able to do one thing. Now we can do 10 things. And that's a gift to our employees and to our organizations that we wouldn't have been able to do if we were still stuck in the weeds.
Definitely.
So one of the other questions, and I'm curious on this one, somebody asked what languages. So for some of those automated pieces, are there languages that, and we will go back to it. So let's chat for a little bit and then we can go back to the tool.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I don't drive everyone.
What are there other languages? Obviously you did the auto voice and that was in English. Are there other languages that can be done?
Yep. So you can also do it in German. And then the other thing, what you can do is you can do your own voiceover here.
Okay.
So people are doing these in 30 languages. Any multinational company, you can do it in 30 different languages. So they send it to their local country, whatever you send it to, Japan, and that team will do it there. Also, you can have subtitles. So you could just, put in subtitles of another language.
Okay. And the subtitles can be done in the tool?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I can show you. Super simple.
Okay.
Yeah, and the recording of the voiceover is extremely simple too, and it's broken down. It gives you tips on how to pace the video correctly so that you don't throw off the timing of the images as well. Okay. And you do it right there in the tool. I mean, of course, you're using the speakers from your computer, so it might not be professional, but you could also download and insert voiceovers, professional voiceovers, fairly simply.
So flexible in that stand, because I've heard this one before too, where it's one of those, well, when do you use professional voiceover? The AI one, actually, I was in a conversation the other day and I really thought differently about it after that's less of a permanent solution, but more of a, hey, let's look at the timing of how many words and how the visuals fit so you can listen and hear how this is going to flow. Then you can replace it with actual voiceover or with your narration. So let's talk through that process, because you showed the tool, and for those of you who didn't see it, you can rewind and watch later unless you want to pull it up. But so in the beginning, you can do the script writing, or you can import from PowerPoint. Now, if you're importing from PowerPoint, it's not pulling. Is it pulling your images in, or is it just pulling in the text?
It just pulls in the text, and then it gives an image from that database of 20,000.
Okay.
And then if you wanted to, no, I need this specific image, you just grab it from the PowerPoint, you upload it. It's super simple. I can show you how to do it. It's, one click and it pops it right into that exact scene over that exact word that you want it to. Okay.
So do you want to pull it up? Because there was one other thing there's a few other things I thought would be worth just talking through as we go through it.
Yeah.
Let me pull you back into the feed here. So can you start a new one real quick?
Yep.
Because with the creation, so the PowerPoint makes sense. It's pulling in the text. But if you go through just the create a new video and hit the, name it, whatever. So writing your own script. So that's the English. Go ahead and come up with a creative name. So with this, you have when you pick one of these storylines, how is that changing what it's actually taking you to next? It's obviously you've created some templates like, hey, here's a general type of thing. What's tweaked based on what you're selecting? We don't need to go through every one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really more to guide what you're speaking about.
Okay.
So really what's going to come out the other end is the same. You'll see everything the same. There's scenes, it will put the storyboard together for you and everything. Yeah.
But just like go ahead and just grab one. And so if I pick communicate your company guidelines versus introduce your company, is it just changing the sample language and things like that? Is it changing the overall structure? What tweaks on that?
It does. So it will tell you how to write your story differently. It will have maybe, so it will start with a title and then it goes back into the background, give a short introduction that explains the motivation behind the guidelines.
Okay.
Right. This is really important also. And this is kind of the human aspect that we brought into it, because subject matter experts or anyone, they might not know how to write a simple, effective story. And so so I kind of stand corrected. This is the most important thing that would change.
Okay. So that's what I was curious about, having played around with it, was, when you're in there, it's basically trying to, and this is something I think is unique about it, is you're taking your expertise and, Aaron's expertise, right? Master storyteller. You're taking your expertise and your team's expertise and saying, hey, this is our best practices on how to tell these types of stories. Let's give you the guidance on how do you tell this type of story, and then let's step you through the different steps of the process and give you some examples of how to do that so that they're not just going blank, correct?
Correct. And I think since this is something that has never existed on the market before, we had to put extra effort into that. So not only do we have that here, where you can just, kind of self-tutelage. But we have customer success managers that are there from day one to, so year contract to the end, which are there all day long to help people be able to tell a story. Aaron was referencing before, we have the 5 rules of being an explanation expert. So we have workshops to become an explanation expert. Anyone can call us in the heat of the moment, like, hey, I'm having a little problem with this. I'm writing too much. I don't know what to prioritize, what to put in, what not to put in. That person will be there for you on the human side to help train you. The interesting thing, people are coming back to us and saying, I can write more effective email. I can ask
the ripple effect.
The ripple effect, absolutely. I can ask my husband to take out the garbage, and he understands me now, and he doesn't. I mean, we're revolutionary.
It's a marriage counseling tool, Paul.
Yeah.
Okay.
We still just can't, mend a broken heart, but we can do a lot of other stuff here.
Okay. So almost in the sense, to some degree, by going through this, it's actually helping upskill people in storytelling. I mean, you're taking your expertise in storytelling and democratizing it to help people tell compelling stories through the tool. So they're actually putting it into action as they're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know personally myself, I've been here 6 years, and I'm just a much more effective communicator, especially in writing. And those are things that we really strive to. We've kind of opened up everything, every secret that we had, which, really 12 years ago, you kind of held everything to your chest, right, Christopher, right? And now in this day and age, really even what you're doing, people have podcasts. Everyone is, you have to give up your trade secrets to everyone. It has to be a little give and take here. And we've really taken that to heart. And so, we're trying to just teach everyone that they can do it themselves. And hey, if you need us on the full service side, we're there.
Great. Great. You're there if they need the additional help. But if not, we're going to take our expertise and we're going to help you be able to do it on your own. Okay. So let's go back to the other one you created before. So, right, we've seen that. So you can technically, right, be guided through these different stories. One other question that came through is, from a template standpoint, is that something, are there templates? Can you create your own? If you create a similar type video over and over and over, are there ways to do that make it easy?
What was the question exactly? I'm sorry.
Can you create a template? Like, let's say you make a similar type thing over and over. Is there a way to reuse or kind of repurpose existing stuff?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, so yes, one of the very cool things about this, there's a collaboration. Okay. So anyone around the world you can share this with. So say you're the instructional designer and you're developing this. The subject matter expert can be in Taipei and looking at this and making little comments on what to do or not to do here. You can also copy it, deliver it to them so that they can start editing it and doing it on their own. You can download it. You can do whatever you want with it. Yeah.
So you have the ability for subject matter experts to collaborate with you. It's not just you're in your silo creating it. You have the ability to collect and gather feedback from others along the way.
Absolutely.
Okay. So looking at this one, go ahead, Aaron.
You create like a story or a video about a process here, in the States, but you have other departments, right? That could be your template process, and then they could collaborate, make their own. It's not going to delete the video that you have, so you could duplicate them. So you could basically create your own templates. Yeah.
Okay. So the best way to do it, you're saying, if it's like you said, a good case study, an example would be, we have this process. This is how we operate in the US. And then we're going to apply this to the EU or the ASEAN region. You'd say, let's make a duplicate of this. Then we can go in, we can tailor it, we can tweak it without disrupting your US version of it. So that it can be then used globally.
Absolutely. And if there's like 3 steps of the process, but the third step is only one that might differ in a different region, then they could just change that one step and they don't have to redo the whole thing.
Okay. So I've got some questions on the content management side of it, but before we get into that, so with this, right? So this was the one AI did everything, and poof, here was the script. Bam, here's your visuals. Let's say you go, you know what? I don't like that boat. That boat isn't what I was going at. How would you then tweak it if you needed to?
Yeah. So we can just go down, for here, we could have done the boat, but here it just pops up automatically a whole bunch more images. So the computer is also telling you, hey, maybe these are all right. So I just click on them. You want something a little bit more modern or something else.
And I'm looking down below, that's the script, right? And you're seeing the green ones are the ones that the AI has highlighted as these are the key words that we've identified.
Exactly. So this is the car sharing.
Okay.
So that's the keyword exactly. This is the entire script. So then it picks one, and we say, hey, this is a little bit more modern and cooler. But still, I wasn't. I was. Maybe sharing was a little bit more. I don't know. I'm gonna get a little crazy here. Caring. Okay. What they really wanted to say is that we care. So this is what kind of that Google search bar that I was telling you about, that you could just search and find something in the 20,000 illustrations that we have in there.
Okay. And I see the uploads there. So, or text, if you wanted to use a text representation or your own custom image, maybe you had something done with that. The one question I have with this, so let's say I'm looking at the script there and I'm seeing it picked anchors, great vision, sailing, boat, car sharing. What if it was like, that's actually not the keyword. That's not the keyword that we want. And is that telling you when it's timing it?
Yes, it goes along here, and say you can take that out, so it's not the keyword anymore.
Okay.
It's super simple. It's one click and boom, it's there. But let's say you say, oh, but artificial intelligence, you forgot that environmentally is very important too. So you click on that and it will give us another one, and it gives us, a leaf, or it could give us a tree, whatever you think is good for environmentally.
So with this, do you have any guidance or recommendations on some of these things? Because what I can see is the potential for people think every word is really important, and suddenly you've got 96 images on the screen and it turns into just wow, overload. Do you have recommendations or guidelines on how you say, hey, this is how to do it well, so that you don't end up with just a chunk of the video that just feels like you're just being attacked?
Yeah. So on the full service side, we're there. The humans,
obviously.
Yeah. Within this service, we can't be looking over 450,000 people's shoulder. So what we do is we limit the technology. So all you can put are 7 images here.
Okay.
So technically we could flick that switch and you could put hundreds of images in here, but it will only allow you to do that. Also with the text, we limit. Like here, you can only put, I think it's, 100 words or something.
Okay.
And
you're capping it, right? Kind of like the 4 minutes thing. It's like, okay, we know that we want to at least mitigate the risk of it going too far. So we'll just use the tech to cap some of these things so that doesn't happen.
Exactly. And we'll get those subject matter experts. Hey, we want to do this. We want to have a longer video or whatever. And then we explain what we're trying to do. And everybody really understands that, oh, thank you for helping me, especially Christopher, when they're done with the video. Because you watch a video these days, you watch a 4-minute video, you're like Aaron said, it's 3 minutes. You're
long, right? Like good grief.
Yeah.
Time, I think we're like itching towards 2.5 minutes nowadays, but that's my recommendation. But people still want to maximize that 4 minutes. And on the client side, I've seen people that we work with where they're like, everything's needs to be in there, everything needs to be in there, and then we deliver the video that's 3.5, 3,
and they go, this is way too much.
They're like, yeah, you know what? Actually, I think we could reduce it. We could cut some stuff out, and they come back to us, and we do that without a problem. So
okay. So as for the voices, when you look at that, so I'm just trying to think if there's anything else here, but I think it's like you said, you talked about the fact that the storyboarding is extremely helpful because you can see, all right, here's a block, here's a storyboard, here's what's happening, here's the text, here's the visuals, here's the next block. And so you can kind of walk your way through it. And then, okay, so there's some prefab voices in there, correct?
Right. So this is all, the voices from Alexa technology. You could grab other ones.
Let me be the voice of your SimpleShow clip, and
I've got to say that the AI voices, they've still got a ways to go.
Yeah, they do, and we're buying the best in the industry, and and this is what it is. But what you can do, you can record your own voice, which is super simple. If you've ever done karaoke, so I could do 2 quick scenes here if you'd like.
Okay. And that's
quote sharing with anchors away.
Okay.
The awesome thing here is usually you would have to, I hope it wasn't listening to me there. Probably was.
Well, that's if you're doing it in the tool. If you're just going step by step and saying, all right, I'm just going to narrate this myself versus using, audio.
Yeah, so you just do it, and you do not have to do the entire video, which tell me other places you have to, and it's impossible because you mess up on one word and you're like, okay, I can't believe I got to go back. So it goes scene by scene. I'll just do one more scene and then we'll play it and see what it sounds like. We from Anchors Away have a great vision, sailing for everyone, even for those without a boat, easily, environmentally, and socially friendly, like car sharing.
So with that, I'm watching the thing, kind of crawl along too. Is that trying to help them also pace themselves? Because obviously everybody speaks at different paces, and that can be a really bad thing because you might get somebody who just rockets through it. Is that designed to help kind of, again, guide the user to say, here's how you should talk to ideally hit the right pace?
Exactly. Just like karaoke. At 2 a.m. in some Japanese bar.
Oh, that's what you were getting at when you said the karaoke. Okay, now I get it. That makes sense. Okay.
You can also adjust the pace of the video if you want a faster paced video or slower paced video. So we have it like kind of right in the middle here. This is based off typical voiceover. Speaks at 135 spoken words per minute. So that's what this is based off of. But you could adjust the speed to be a little slower, a little bit faster. Over there on the right.
Okay. And so with that, then I'm just looking at the, so part of what you're doing is really also guiding people through the instructional process, right? You're guiding them through the instructional process of really you're taking it from a draft, getting the script in place, making sure they've kind of structured that. Then you're actually laying out the visuals, having them kind of validate that. And then the finalize is where you're actually kind of putting the finishing touches from a, whatever, whether it's the music, the volume, all that other stuff. And with the speaking and the music, can you do both, right? Can you have kind of like something in the background with somebody talking over it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You can, we have different music here. So, or
if you want to upload your own stuff,
you could upload your own stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, you can, everything's customizable. You can, just one click here, boom, you upload your watermark, and now it's changed it to everyone.
Okay.
Now it's learning tech talks, boom, in one.
Plaster my logo all over things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. So that gets to one of the questions that came in terms of brandable. You're able to brand and kind of make these things look and feel like your organizations or your team, department, things like that.
Absolutely. I hope nobody gets Coke can't get mad, right? It's good for them to
royalty for it, Paul.
Yeah. The most expensive interview I've ever had.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's right there. It's just one click away.
Okay. And then in terms of some of the visuals, some of the questions coming in are about, the visuals, are they all black and white like that, or what kind of library are you pulling from?
Yep. So it's all black and white, and that's done on purpose. It's much easier for the human eye, less distracting. 99.9% of our clients are in the corporate world, and they're not there to, do something different. But let's say, Coke wants their color, so you can put the hexa value in there exactly, C4 to whatever. You can pick different colors. You can upload anything you want, just like I was doing here. For the illustrations, you can upload.
Yeah, if you wanted to change, you could put your own things. It's interesting you bring that up though about the simplicity of two-tone, right? Whether it's black, with a white background or red on a white background versus, having 38 different colors in the images. So it sounds like that was an intentional decision to say, let's keep this as simple as possible to reduce the load on the learner to have to process information that's really not relevant to the story.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And then you can change the hands.
You can change the hands. So different ethnicities here, they would be real hands.
And those are the hands coming in going like, whoosh, grabbing the stuff.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then you can do no hands.
Okay.
And these are brand new. This was just done January 1st of this year. And so it mixes it up a little bit.
So the three hands, does that mean three hands come in, or it's just rotating?
It's three different ethnicities' hands.
All at once?
In different scenes.
Okay. So it's mixing it up. Okay, that's helpful, because I was like, wait, do three hands just like magically come out and got it. That makes perfect sense. So just to really diversify, to show the diversity of an organization, to say, hey, it's different people coming in and pulling these things off. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's been helpful. I think this is one of the few episodes where we've really dug into the tool itself, which, from the number of comments we've got and the questions that people are asking, I think this was extremely helpful to do that, to go into more detail around it. And I think we can go back to the three of us here. But I really appreciate the time. I think it's been very cool to see the ins and outs of the tools and how you've been able to use technology, not to replace, right? Again, I think this goes back to a lot of the conversations I have with people. It's not that technology is a threat to what we do or the way we do it. It's changing it. So I guess it's a threat to the way we do it, but in a positive way that allows us to do more with less, allows us to be more efficient and focus on the bigger things. So this has been extremely helpful. I think the audience has appreciated. I appreciate the time. Both of you braved going into the office today. So that was the other big move.
Yeah, we're far apart, everyone. We are very, very, very far apart here.
Opposite ends of the building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, perfect. Well, I appreciate the time. I thank you for being here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully we got your questions answered. If not, we will go back and respond. And I know the Simple Show team has been watching the comments as well. But if people are curious about it, what do they do?
Yeah, they can, come to our websites, Simple Show or My Simple Show, and they can reach out to us and we'll give them free demos. We really want to, with all this craziness that is going around, we're offering on the full service side, anybody who is really in trouble here, we can produce a free video for them. We've offered free My Simple Show software to press around the world. We can also do that to companies if they are in need. And then we can start a dialogue. So, but simpleshow.com is probably the best way to reach out to us.
And then you get a chance to get firsthand experience with it. So
yeah, I guess I can put my email in there just in case anybody's dying to talk to me.
Yeah, in case they're like, you know what, that conversation with Paul just wasn't enough. I want to have another one.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here, Paul and Aaron, for your time, and everybody out there. Stay distanced, but don't stay isolated, and stay safe. Have a great weekend.